afternoon, wherever you may be on the planet or off the planet. Who knows who's in space watching our YouTube
Well, some of
streaming?
them have just come back to Earth, haven't they, as the astronauts?
Yes, yay! Planet or off the planet. Right. So, and the follow-up echo. Hi, everybody. It's Jacqueline with Intuition Power with my co-host and guest, Stuart Elliott from Guilin, China. Welcome back.
Well, it's always good to be here. And we have a special day today, don't we? I
I
believe.
know. Well, it's here yesterday almost, right?
Well, yeah.
So right now for me, where I am in Reno, Nevada, Pacific time zone, United States, it is still spring equinox. It's equinox day. What is that?
That's a good question. I've heard about it, and I know it's a significant day in many, traditions and that. But I always forget what it really, really means. So I'm glad you brought it up, and you can tell me.
Okay, well,
And you were
what it
going to tell
really,
me how to make the most of it as
yes,
well.
it's a shift. It where I am, it's the first day of spring. We've come out of winter, it's the first day of spring. Or
Mhm.
if you're down under, then it's the first day uh
Autumn.
of autumn. Yes. And are you going to spring or autumn?
We're in spring. We're
You're in
not
spring.
actually
Oh,
going,
right.
we're in spring.
Right.
Spring
You're
comes
you're
very early in this part of the world because we're so close to the equator.
yes, we are your past
Mhm.
by about 15 hours. All right.
Yeah.
So actually, I just saw it interesting. I thought it was interesting, a video on one of the platforms, and it was talking about the different in English, the different months. And it was October, November, December. And he says October, Oct is 8. November is not Nov is 9. I think I have that right. December is Dece is 10, or I might have that a little bit off. But anyway, he was going through and then he said January and February, and he said if every day was 28, every month, if every month was 28 days, there would be 13 equal dayed months, 13 months of 28 days. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And then he said, so basically, based on the Latin, starting with 10, 11, 12, October, November, December, January, February, March, the new year would start at the beginning of the end of March, which is spring equinox.
Yeah, and I believe it actually does do that in the Persian calendar.
There are over 300 calendars being used on the planet actively currently.
Mhm.
I heard that years ago. I was doing a radio talk show and I interviewed someone. It's like I can't believe it. And then well, there's this and he named off about 30 or 30 calendars and went on and on and on. And it's really interesting that I didn't realize that not everybody's using the same calendar, and 300 over 300 calendars
Yeah,
being used.
300 is was
A
a
lot.
mystery to me until you told me. But I'm aware of the Gregorian calendar, which is the traditional one in the West, and then the lunar calendar, which many other people. But for 300 different calendars,
Yeah,
that's mind blowing.
there's a Wiccan calendar, there's a Mayan calendar, there's an Indian, like American Indian calendar. Think about all the indigenous
Hmm.
organ people have their own calendars, and
Hmm.
so probably all the different languages have their own calendar, and there's a lot of calendars out there.
Yeah, and can get confusing, if you talk about the dates.
Yes, very confusing. So how do we take advantage of the equinox? It's like everything is energy. And if you start to understand the energy, I grew up um, next to Santa Monica in Southern California, and Malibu, and lots of beach. And so surfing and surfs up and all of that. So I was always very aware of tides, and high tide, low tide, not necessarily, but surf is up and surf is flat, no
Mhm.
surfing. And so the idea of large bodies of water, the ideas of the moon influencing women's bodies every 28 days, we're theoretically have a period, and during periods of our portions of our life, and so the tides are of the oceans, these huge masses of water are impacted dramatically by the moon, and
Mhm.
by that small little body of whatever it is, planet, uh whatever the moon is made of, green cheese. And it affects our um the full moon, especially the new moon. It affects the tides. And when if you're going out on a boat and the tide is coming in, it's a lot of extra work. If you want to go out of the shore and leave, then it's better to leave when the tide is going out. Go with the flow.
Mhm.
And it's not impossible to do the other, but it takes a lot more effort and energy.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of London. The River Thames is tidal, and it's a very strong tide. And if you've got a boat which doesn't have a lot of power, you can be over full throttle going against the tide, and you stood still. You're not going anywhere. So
Exactly.
you have to go with it. Yeah, you have to go with the flow, as they say.
Exactly. And so in our consciousness and our human behavior, there are certain times when it's better to make changes and better to just stay in. There are certain times when the fishermen, when it's time to sow the nets
Hmm.
and sharpen the saw, if you're cutting down trees, and the person that says, "Oh, I don't have time to sharpen the saw," it takes too much time to sharpen the saw. And then the advanced person says, stop doing what you're doing. Oh, I can't. I have to keep working. Stop doing what you're doing. Come over here, sharpen your saw. And you sharpen it and you sharpen it and you sharpen it, and you're wasting all this time. And then finally you go back to work. And you know what? All of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, this is so much easier and it's so much
Hmm.
faster. So it takes a lot less effort and it takes a lot less time when you take time to sharpen your saw. And so the full moon and the new moon and the equinox, we have two equinoxes, one in the spring and one in the fall. And the full moon, excuse me, the equinox in the June, and winter, the
Solstice.
solstice. Thank you. Ding, 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 ding. In the solstice of um the the edge of the elliptical that we go, and then we start kind of coming back, like northeast, southwest. We go as far east as we need to, and then we start to come back on the um on the path. So and that affects that affects the tilt, but our where we are in relationship to our rotation around the sun and the seasons. So uh, the four seasons are dramatically different in certain parts of the world. And when I grew up in Los Angeles, we didn't really experience much of the four seasons. It was sunny most of the time, and we had flowers and food growing all the time. And now I'm in Reno, we have four seasons, and it's beautiful and different and much colder where I am in the winter. But it's the beauty is amazing. So the equinox is the beginning of spring or the beginning of fall. It's a changing of a season. And in consciousness, it's a powerful time to really start the new year of what do you really want to do? Because if you are launching your boat and the tide is now starting to go out, that's when you get the momentum. So those of you who have set your goals in December, the end of December, beginning of January, maybe it's time to revisit those goals and really align, do a meditation tonight, today, tomorrow, within this next couple, 2, 3 days, and really do an inner meditation, relax, close your eyes, review the last 12 months, and start to release the things in your mind that you might be holding on to that are dramatic, traumatic, frustrating. In the United States, we had elections, we had a lot of trauma. It's still going on for a lot of people. A lot of
Yeah, and people have that about their job and they hang on to it, all the stress and the nonsense from their job that they hang on to, don't they?
right, and a lot of people are hanging on to the job that they don't like
Hmm.
for the reasons of, I'm afraid of, I don't trust my connection with the universe. I don't trust
Hmm.
that I'm going to be supported. I don't really feel that I'm a child of God that is being supported by a parent that loves me and that will support me in some way and guide me in some way.
Hmm.
And what I'm talking about has nothing to do with religion, but a lot of people that study religions feel those concepts, that there is a father, source, whatever, that is supposed to be there supporting me in some way. And I just talk about it as consciousness, as intuition, awareness, your own spirit. And so there's a lot of different ways of looking at your connection with source or life itself. Who am I? Why am I here? Do I really have a purpose? And if so, do I have the confidence and courage to follow that path, even if it's not what I got talked into as a teenager or a young adult, to go to school and study to become. I've talked to a lot of young adults in high school. What do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I'm registering to become an attorney. And I said, wow, have you interviewed 5 professional attorneys in your life? No. Well, ask them what their lifestyle is. Do they get weekends off? Did they get off at 5 o'clock at night? And do they have evenings
Do
to
they even get to
themselves?
sleep? I mean, that's
To their
because they're
family,
often
right?
researching throughout the
And
night.
and it's like what? No, I haven't done that. And so they haven't really been taught to do the research of what is the lifestyle that they're getting into, as opposed to the oh, attorneys make a lot of money. It's like, so do dentists, and they're like one of the top either alcoholics or suicidal doctors in the world.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, we often chase the wrong things, but we're not even given the notion that we have a choice about what we can do. And definitely not given that information that we're suited for certain things.
Uh-huh.
We're
Yeah.
just expected to follow this pathway which has been laid out before us. And
Well,
people
things are
get
changing.
to, yeah, but people get to middle age, don't they? Very often they say, what am I doing? Why am I here? You know, it's
Not
not,
only middle
everything I've
age,
done
but
has not given me satisfaction.
in my generation, we get to elder age, and they're still asking themselves, now that
Yeah.
they're retired or about to retire, that's so many, particularly men, die within 2 to 3 years of their retirement.
Or less. I mean, my uncle was one. He was a top salesman in his company, and he was so happy to retire because he's going to play golf for the rest of his life. And then 6 months later, he's gone because he had no purpose. He
Right,
didn't know
right,
who he was anymore.
right.
That's the
So with
problem.
so with the work that you do, how do you approach helping someone to um, take advantage of this, not the end game, but
The new
certainly
beginning.
start with the end result in mind. But how do you work with people in
Well,
situations like this?
I think the first thing is you have to reframe what actually retirement is, and for people, a lot of people is they just sit there do nothing because they don't know what it is. But it's an opportunity to do all the things that you've not, that interest you, that you don't have pressure. I mean, for instance, Grandma Moses. You probably heard of her. 78 years old. She says, "I'm going to paint," and she became a world famous painter artist.
Right.
Never
Well,
had
what
that opportunity before, but now she gave herself that opportunity, and that's the thing where you've got to start.
I think we should do a whole series on retirement and reinventing yourself. But let's focus on solstice, like
Mhm.
the transition from last year to this year, and setting goals. What's a couple of suggestions that you would have at this moment?
For setting goals, I mean, I think the most important thing about a goal is it's a destination. It's somewhere to take a journey to. And so many people set a goal and that has to be it. And then they lock themselves into this mental picture of what that looks like. And they miss everything that is happening along the way, all the opportunities. So I think the first thing is to understand what a goal really is. And that's to point you in a direction. And
Um,
the actual growth you make is on that journey.
the I was a fan of Mark Victor Hansen, and he said his definition of a goal is it needs to be there are three or four things. It has to be
Yeah, it's measurable,
believable,
achievable.
achievable, attainable, achievable, measurable,
Mhm,
believable, attainable, and measurable. So a lot of people have goals, but there are no measurements. So
mhm,
they can't actually say, did you get there? Yes or no. How close are you to that? If it's just a general, um, I want to have a car, I want
Yeah,
to have
it's a wish, isn't
transportation.
it? It's nothing
Yeah,
specific.
it's not in his definition of goal. And I find that people that do the secret, the idea of manifesting, they're oftentimes general. I want prosperity. What is that? I want wealth.
Mhm,
What is that? What is it for you? For some people, it might be $1 billion. For some people, it might be 500 million. For other people, it might be $1 million in the bank,
mhm.
and other people it might be $50,000 in the bank. For
It's like that anecdote I heard where person in the company went to the boss and said, "I want more money. I want a pay rise." And the boss said, "Okay, here's an extra dollar a month." And
my
then they were
first
upset because it's not what they were talking about. But they hadn't specified, so they got more, but it wasn't what they were looking for. So you have to have that specific. It's so true.
my first job, I was given a job, and I applied. I got this my first job out of high school, and after they said I would have a pay review in 3 months, and in
Hmm.
3 months there's a little bit delay. Okay, so then they said, but we're going to give you a significant raise, and money was different back then, and I don't know if I was getting like $3 an hour. I don't know what it was, and they gave me a raise of like 10 cents an hour
Hmm.
and retroactive for like 2 months. And I was just like, what? And so I went in, and it was a small high-end department store in Beverly Hills.
Hmm.
And so I went in and I talked to the manager, and I told him, I said, I was told I would get a significant raise. Well, how much did you get? I said 10 cents an hour. He said, well, what do you think would be significant? I said 25 cents an hour. Again, money was different back then. I'm that
Mm.
old. Okay. And so and so they said, we'll get back to you. And they actually gave me the what I asked for. And then 2 or 3 months later, they called me out and took me out to lunch, and they said, We are so pleased with the work that you're doing. We're giving you an extra bonus and a raise. And I was, I don't know, 18 years old, and I ended up the last person in the store with the security guards, and closing the store with the cash register and everything, because they really trusted me and I was doing a good job and everything. And every once in a while they'd give me a pouch, wrap it up and put it under your sweater and put it under your arm. It had thousands of dollars of cash, and they would take me. They had another store a block away, and this is on Rodeo Drive, the main store in Beverly Hills. I didn't realize it's like they're using me as a human mule here. I
Hmm.
could get robbed. But they
Well, that.
trusted me, and I got my little raise.
Mhm.
So
But again, if you don't specify, if you're not specific, you're not going to go anywhere. It's like, throwing a note, putting a note in a bottle and throwing it into the sea.
right.
It will just
I
go wherever the currents take it. And, that's no way to deliver a letter to someone.
right, right, right. So so right now, today, tonight, tomorrow, take a few minutes, do a little meditation, take a blank piece of paper, close your eyes, just think about the last 12 months, the highs, the lows, the relationships, the physicality. Did you eat too much? Did you eat not enough? Did you get exercise? Did you lose any relatives or friends? Did you gain any relatives or friends?
Mhm.
And what actually happened over the last 12 months? Take a calendar and flip through month after month. Take 10 minutes and really see the emotions that come up for you, and set the intention to resolve and release any sadness, any loss, anything that you want to add on that part.
Yeah, I mean, do it without judgment, I think is the big thing. A lot of people start doing that. They start reviewing and they start going into judgment and everything else and saying, I shouldn't have done this and this. And then they lose track of the whole exercise.
Right, right. I have a program called Clear Set Get.
Hmm.
You do it over a few hours, and I teach it every few months, and it walks you through that situation so that you're not self-bashing or self-denying, or um, life happens and we move through it
Hmm.
and we learn and grow. And that's and so the next time something like that where different happens, we can react in a more homeostasis, more equal, keeping our center, keeping
Yeah.
our equanimity
Hmm.
to ourselves and our process of, we're here to grow in life and to learn and to, have more and more love and understanding. Um and that doesn't mean being a pushover, and it
No, I mean, it's accepting that something has happened, but not accepting, the intent behind it, but something happened, you know?
right,
Once we can do that, then we are freed from that, judgment, that criticism, self-criticism.
resentment.
Yeah, everything. And, then you can empower yourself to take different action.
Right. So and then from after you do the clearing of the junky stuff, then you can kind of go into a neutral place and get a feeling of love and joy and unlimited possibilities, and then start looking at your future
Mhm.
and start to dream a dream and then dream it awake through action,
Mhm.
and having your intuition guide you to be in the right place at the right time, saying the right thing at the right time. And all of a sudden it's like, I remember I wanted to be on one of the big stages of Peak Potentials training, and I was told by 4 different people, talk to so and so. I was given a name, and she was hard to get because it was a huge company.
Mhm.
And I walked into the last 15 minutes of a training at a convention, in one of the conventions there, and I was one of the coaches for the company, and I walked in and they said, and I was sitting like in a row by myself because a lot of people left, and the instructions were, turn to someone, a partner, and A and B. And so there was only one lady a table away, and I grabbed her, and she grabbed me, and it's like, okay, partner A and B, I'll be A, all right. And A say to B, do the pitch of who you are and what stage you want to be on and what you have to share. You have a minute and a half. Boom. And it's like, well, I'm Jacqueline and I have Intuition Power Masterclass and I'd like to be on the stage of Peak Potentials. And this is what people will get, blah, blah, blah. It was the lady in charge of, it was the lady I was supposed to speak to, who is the head of all of the stages of Peak Potentials. And it was just like, are you kidding me? I just pitched the person I wanted to pitch. And she said, oh, that's very interesting. We need to talk afterwards. Okay, switch partners. Who are you? I'm Gail, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going,
Oh.
and that was that intuition. I was just in the right place at the right time and didn't even know I was pitching.
Mm-hmm.
I was prepared and everything. But so when you start to live in the magic of life and you start to understand everything is energy, and you start to do these little rituals or exercises when the tide is today, the tide is equinox. So it's the beginning of either fall or the beginning of spring. Particularly if you're in the beginning of spring, use this as pretend it's the beginning of your year.
Mm-hmm.
And really reevaluate your goals, start to set them. If you need some support or some help, first of all, thanks for sharing this. Press the share button. Please leave a comment. And if anybody would like to have some support in setting some goals or letting go of some limitations or pain, emotional, physical, mental, whatever it might be, you feel blocked, then Stuart has once a month, he's still offering a complimentary 1 hour session where he guides you through self-discovery, getting to you to bypass some blocks or some pains and some fears, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a few slots, so you have to go to the calendar and see what's available, and then don't leave it too long because they
right,
book up.
do it now. So how did they get to the calendar?
They go to coachstuart.com. You can see it if you've got good eyes on the bottom of my screen next to my name.
Get the magnifying glass. Okay, it's Coach Stuart, STUART.com.
Yep.
And you'll get to his calendar. And while supplies last, while openings last, there's a couple that he opens up during the month as a complimentary offer. And mine is, I don't have a free offer listed, but if you go to intuitionpower.com, you'll get to my contact list. And I do send out some specials every once in a while if you're on my contact list. So just add your email to my list. And by the way, I email approximate on a lucky month, maybe once a month. People actually complain that I'm not sending out enough email updates.
Well, then you should listen to them, shouldn't you?
I know. So if you're worried about joining my contact list to be swamped with email, it's not going to happen. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's a new year. So who knows? Maybe I'll send out a few more.
Yeah, I mean, that's something you can start. And, it is about new beginnings, isn't it? That's the important thing. And we're in that growth phase. I mean, if you look around at the trees, the flowers, I mean, at the moment, we've got all the azaleas out. We've got the, not clematis, begins with the C. I've just lost the name of it again. But they are the winter flowers, and they are stunning. They're these bright, vibrant pinks and whites and things like that, and reds.
Well,
And
pick a few and hold them up next time.
yeah, I don't like taking flowers off the plants because I feel that if everyone does that, nobody can see them.
Well, not everyone, and ask permission to the plant and just take one of each. May
I'll
I?
take a picture more likely and put it as a
Okay, all
background.
right. See, I talk to my plants and I go, okay, you need to put up one extra one so that I can take it and show and share.
Yeah, that's fine if there's no public access to the plants, but if everybody does it, the plant gets
Oh,
destroyed. And
oh, they're not
that's
your
the thing.
private garden.
Yeah, we don't have a private garden because I'm on the
Oh,
fourth and fifth floors, so
I got it. I got it. Okay. Take
we
a
have to find
picture.
a way of creating that.
Okay. Well, thank you again for joining me today.
My
Everybody have
pleasure.
a great solstice and oh, solstice, no, equinox,
Equinox.
equinox.
Mhm.
And you could take an egg and put it on its edge. Although I just read something and they said because I know people that do it every equinox, they literally take an egg and they stand it up and then let go and it still stands up.
Mhm.
Hmm. But then I just read something yesterday and they said you could do that any time of the year. Damn, goes that idea.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, I mean, it's like Easter. You have Easter egg hunts, so you can do that any time of the year as well,
right,
but it's more special on the right day.
right, when everybody else is doing it.
Yeah,
Okay. Have a really great week, everybody. Stuart, thank you for joining me. Have a really
it's my
good, healthy
pleasure as
week.
always, and we
And
look forward to talking to you next time. Don't forget, share
yes, press the share button. Okay.
and comment
Thanks,
below.
everybody.